One of the most powerful arguments against Islam comes from one of Muhammad's early scribes. Allah would give a revelation to his messenger Gabriel, then Gabriel would pass the revelation on to Muhammad, then Muhammad would recite the revelation to his followers, and they would try to memorize it. But memorizing it was difficult, so a scribe would write down the revelation. A man named Abdullah ibn Abu Sarh converted to Islam and became one of Muhammad's scribes. But he eventually left Islam and became an apostate. Why did a man who learned the Quran from Muhammad himself decide to become an ex-Muslim? It wasn't because he wanted to drink beer, or because he wanted to eat pork, or because he was being paid by the Jews. It was because he had indisputable proof that Muhammad was a false prophet. Let's read a quick summary of the problem that Abdullah saw. A little context: when Muhammad conquered Mecca, he ordered his followers to execute specific people, even if these people took refuge inside the Kaaba. Abdullah ibn Abu Sarh was one of the people Muhammad ordered his followers to kill. Why did Muhammad demand Abdullah's head? This is from 23 Years by the Iranian scholar Ali Dashti. The last named on Muhammad's execution list, referring to Abdullah, had for some time been one of the scribes employed at Medina to write down the revelations. On a number of occasions, he had, with the Prophet's consent, changed the closing words of verses. For example, when the Prophet had said, "And God is mighty and wise," Abdullah ibn Abu Sarh suggested writing down, "knowing and wise," and the Prophet answered that there was no objection. Having observed a succession of changes of this type, Abdullah renounced Islam on the ground that the revelations, if from God, could not be changed at the prompting of a scribe such as himself. After his apostasy, he went to Mecca and joined the Qurayshites. So Muhammad would receive revelations and recite these revelations to Abdullah, his scribe, and Abdullah would say, in effect, "Why don't we write it like this instead?" And Muhammad would reply, "Fine, write it like that." Abdullah eventually realized that if these were actual revelations from God, and if Muhammad was an actual prophet from God, Muhammad wouldn't keep letting his scribes make changes to the text of Allah's perfect, eternal word. Abdullah concluded that Muhammad wasn't a true prophet, and he abandoned Islam. This was a huge embarrassment to the early Muslim community, so much so that Allah even complained about Abdullah in his eternal speech, the Quran. Surah 6, verse 93. The commentary we're going to read in a moment uses the Pickthall translation, so we'll read the Pickthall translation of this verse. "Who is guilty of more wrong than he who forgeth a lie against Allah, or saith, I am inspired, when he is not inspired in aught, and who saith, I will reveal the like of that which Allah hath revealed?" So Allah is condemning someone who forges a lie against him, and someone who says he's inspired when he isn't, and someone who says, I can reveal verses just like the ones that come from Allah. According to Muslim commentators, this verse is actually referring to specific people who said these things. We read the historical background in Asbab al-Nuzul by al-Wahidi. "Who is guilty of more wrong than he who forgeth a lie against Allah, or saith, I am inspired?" 693. This was revealed about the liar, Musaylama al-Hanafi. This man was a soothsayer who composed rhymed speech and claimed prophethood. Wow, imagine composing some poetry and then claiming that you must be a prophet because of your awesome poetry. Seems like this was popular in 7th century Arabia. He claimed that he was inspired by Allah. So, one of the people Allah condemns in Surah 6, verse 93, is Musaylima. But there's another. "And who saith, I will reveal the like of that which Allah hath revealed?" 693. This verse was revealed about Abdullah ibn Sa'd ibn Abi Sarh. This man had declared his faith in Islam, and so the Messenger of Allah, Allah bless him and give him peace, called him one day to write something for him. Muhammad didn't just call him one day. Abdullah was one of Muhammad's regular scribes, but this commentary is going to focus on something that happened one particular day. When the verses regarding the believers were revealed, verily we created man from a product of wet earth. This is the passage about the creation of man in Surah 23, 12 through 14. The Prophet dictated them to him. When he reached up to verse 14, which says, and then produced it as another creation, Abdullah expressed his amazement at the precision of man's creation by saying, so blessed be Allah, the best of creators. So, Muhammad is delivering revelations about the creation of man, and Abdullah, who's writing down these revelations and finally learning about how Allah created man, exclaims, so blessed be Allah, the best of creators. Now watch what happens. The Messenger of Allah, Allah bless him and give him peace, said, this, Abdullah's last expression, is how it was revealed to me. In other words, Muhammad said, Abdullah, your words, so blessed be Allah, the best of creators, those words you spoke were just revealed to me as part of this verse. At that point, doubt crept into Abdullah. He said, if Muhammad is truthful, then I was inspired just as he was. And if he is lying, I have uttered exactly what he did utter. Hence Allah's words in 693, and who saith, I will reveal the like of that which Allah hath revealed. The man renounced Islam. This is also the opinion of Ibn Abbas, according to the report of Al-Kalbi. Now, let's put all of this together by reading the Quran passage that ultimately led to Abdullah's apostasy. In Surah 23, verses 12 through 14, Allah declares, verily we created man from a product of wet earth, then placed him as a drop of seed in a safe lodging, then fashioned we the drop a clot, then fashioned we the clot a little lump, then fashioned we the little lump bones, then clothed the bones with flesh, and then produced it as another creation.
So as you can see from David Wood's claims, that he's claiming that Abdullah ibn Abu Sarh apostatized from Islam when Muhammad got revelations and Abdullah ibn Abu Sarh said, well, say it this way, say so is the best of Allah's, Allah is the creator, and then so basically Abdullah ibn Abu Sarh said something and the Prophet Muhammad heard that and said, yeah, put that in the Quran. So basically, I think David Wood's whole argument boils down to Muhammad was making up the Quran, and when Abdullah bin Abu Sarh, who was one of the writers or one of the scribes of the Quran, said something that Muhammad liked, Muhammad was like, yeah, put that in the Quran. So that means the Quran is Muhammad's imagination or the creation of Muhammad. Now, what is the real story of Abdullah ibn Abu Sarh? The real story of Abdullah ibn Abu Sarh's apostasy had nothing to do with him writing the Quran's revelations. Rather, it had to do with the fact that Abdullah ibn Abu Sarh apostated and he joined the people who were waging war against the Muslims, which is the Meccan polytheists. We read in Sunan Abu Dawud Book 39, Hadith number 4345, it says, narrated by Ibn Abbas, Abdullah ibn Abu Sarh used to write the revelation for the Apostle of Allah. Now this is the important part. Satan made him slip and he joined the polytheists. The Apostle of Allah commanded to kill him on the day of conquest of Mecca. Uthman ibn Affan sought protection for him. The Apostle of Allah gave him protection. So basically, Abdullah bin Abu Sarh, the real reason the Prophet Muhammad wanted him killed was because he left Islam and fought against the Muslims. It was not because Abdullah bin Abu Sarh added his own interpretation to the Quran and Muhammad just went along with it. No, that's according to authentic reports, that's not the reason why he apostated. from Islam. He apostated from Islam and he fought against the Muslims. That's why the Prophet Muhammad wanted him executed, was because this person was a warmonger, or he was fighting against the Muslims. So that's why the Prophet Muhammad wanted him killed. The Prophet Muhammad didn't want him killed because he caused some kind of embarrassment to Muhammad or the Quran or anything like that. No, that's false, according to Sunan Abu Dawud Book 39, Hadith 4345. So basically, the whole story is further that whole story is further confirmed in this book. The Sealed Nectar. So basically, if you read the Sealed Nectar, page 468, it says, that, let me see if I can find the place. It says, okay, it says on the Sealed Nectar, page 468, it says, shedding blood of 9 of the worst criminals was declared lawful even under the curtains of Al-Kaaba. Some of them later pardoned. Abdullah ibn Abu Sarh had become a Muslim and immigrated, but left Islam and killed some of the companions. So basically, Abdullah ibn Abu Sarh was a murderer of the early Muslims. He killed a lot of Prophet Muhammad's disciples or companions. So that's why the Prophet Muhammad wanted him killed, because this person was a killer, right? So Islam has an eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth type of retaliation laws, which is fair, right? If someone kills, like, let's say someone kills your father, right, and you have the opportunity to either forgive him or have him killed by the justice system, what would you want, right? You would probably, it would be okay to say, yeah, this person deserves the death penalty, or yeah, this person should be killed. So basically, back in those days, there was no jail, or there was no prisons. Either the criminals had to be executed. That was the only way to maintain order in society back then. Now we have prisons. Now there's the justice system, and et cetera, et cetera. But back then, that wasn't the case. So getting back to this statement about Abdullah bin Abu Sarh making up his own version of the Quran, or making up verses of the Quran, and Prophet Muhammad just going along with it. And does that prove that Muhammad is a false prophet? That story could cause some concerns to Islam and the Prophet of Muhammad and the Quran, if it was true. If it was true, yes, I would agree with David Wood that Muhammad was just making up the Quran and it didn't have any kind of divine origin. Because if Muhammad is saying, yeah, I like that, put that in the Quran, that means Muhammad was just making up the Quran. Then it's game over for the Quran and Islam. But yeah, I would agree with him. But the problem is that story is not authentic, right? I think David Wood would have a point if that story was authentic, but it's not authentic anyways. So this doesn't invalidate Prophet Muhammad's prophethood. I'm trying to find out where they got that story from. Basically, he said he got that story from the tafsir, but the problem is tafsirs usually aren't reliable because they have a lot of false stories in them. So basically, tafsirs are basically unreliable when it comes to certain hadith and et cetera, et cetera. So they're basically not reliable anyways. So and again, this story is also found in tafsirs like Tafsir al-Qurtubi, Tafsir al-Tabari, et cetera, et cetera. But the issue here is that there's no chain of transmission here. There's no what you may call it. There's no the chain of transmission is disrupted, or it's not. There's no full source for the story for that. So I'm trying to find trying to find where it says that. Yeah, so basically, Al-Qurtubi and Al-Tabari mentioned that story, but they mention it with disrupted chains of transmission. So that is why the claim of David Wood is based on a report, is based on a fabricated or a weak report. So that story is not authentic, anyways. So basically, the Quran chapter 23 verses 12 to 14 was revealed as is. Like, it wasn't. It was revealed in the way it was supposed to be revealed. Nobody added anything to it. Nobody took anything out of it, according to authentic reports. So that whole story of Abdullah ibn Abu Sarh apostatizing because he knew that Muhammad was making up the Quran, because he could like add his own words into the Quran, is false, because that's a false story that didn't reach us with the proper chains of transmission. The whole story, so the whole Abdullah bin Abu Sarh thing is this: he used the right revelation for Muhammad, that's true, and then Satan made him slip, or he apostated, and he joined the polytheists, he joined the pagans, and he started fighting against the Muslims. He joined the disbelievers, he joined the warmongers against the Muslims. And Abdullah ibn Abu Sarh, he left Islam, he joined the pagan Meccans, and he killed some of the disciples or companions of Prophet Muhammad, and he fought against the Muslims. He fought he fought against the early Muslims. He killed some of the early Muslims, etc. So this man was a killer. This man was a warmonger. And despite this, the Prophet Muhammad still forgave him and still let him live, despite his obvious crimes against the Muslims. Because Uthman ibn Affan insisted on it. So the Prophet Muhammad agreed that, yeah, this person should be let go, even though he did horrible crimes against Muslims. And this person, Abdullah ibn Abu Sarh, converted back to Islam willingly. So he became a Muslim again after apostatizing, and he stayed a Muslim for the rest of his life. So this is further proof that apostasy, even when one apostatizes, there's no death penalty, because if death by penalty, remember, keep in mind that the Quran says follow the Prophet Muhammad, and if the Prophet Muhammad really believed in execution for apostasy, then the Prophet Muhammad would have pushed Uthman Affan aside and said, yes, this person's still apostate, he needs to be killed. So despite Abdullah bin Abu Sarh's apostasy, despite his killing of early Muslims or disciples of Prophet Muhammad, and despite his warmongering against Islam's three major crimes against Islam and Muslims, and three major sins, he was still let off the hook. He was still allowed to live, and he converted back to Islam a little bit later on that day. So basically, so that's the whole story behind it. This person was a warmonger. He was a killer. So that's why and he apostated. So a combination of these three things. A combination of those two things, where he killed most early Muslims, saying he was a warmonger. That's why the Prophet Muhammad wanted him killed. But the Prophet Muhammad was merciful, and he let him live when he could have killed him. So that shows the merciful nature of the Prophet Muhammad. He had the power to kill, but he didn't. He had the power to kill like one of the worst criminals, in the early Islamic period, but he didn't. He chose to let him go. So that shows a lot of constraint, and that shows a very merciful side to the Prophet Muhammad, very kind and merciful side to the Prophet Muhammad, which is right in the same league as Jesus in the New Testament, when Jesus says turn the other cheek, etc. So basically, that's my whole 2 cents about this whole Abdullah bin Abu Sarh thing, and why he didn't leave because he could add things into the Quran and he figured out Muhammad was a fraud. No, that's not why he left. He left Islam and he joined the Meccans, and he was a warmonger and he was a killer. That's why the Prophet Muhammad wanted him killed. It had nothing to do with that story about Abdullah bin Abu Sarh making up verses and putting it into the Quran is false, according to the proper chains of transmissions, or according to the proper rules of creating a hadith on what's authentic and what's weak. Then David Wood cited Ali Dash, a 23-year study of the Prophet Muhammad, a study of Muhammad's 23-year career as a prophet. But Ali Dash is just a bitter Iranian, a bitter apostate Iranian. So why are you taking his word? You know, he's not. It would be like me quoting the Jesus Seminar, or it would be like me quoting Bart Ehrman to David Wood. David Wood wouldn't accept that. He'd be like, oh, that's just a liberal, yada yada yada. You gotta quote, you know, Christian sources. Well, same thing here. You gotta quote authentic Muslim sources here. You can't just, you know, take anything you want and then just throw it out there to the public. No, you got to do some fact checking here. And when I fact check the story, when I check the story sources, I turned out that story is weak and false to begin with. Stay tuned. A lot more videos are up ahead.